Tokyo, my dear friends. This is Daisuke, and I hope you are doing very well today and that you are enjoying your day wherever you are. I'd like to speak to you, if I may, in connection with the Criterion collection. I talk about the Criterion collection because as of now, the recording of this video, it's November 2019. To be more specific, it's the 1st of November. The Criterion collection Barnes & Noble sale is going on, and so it's a very nice time to talk about Criterion collection titles. And there are so many, as you know. There are many titles in the Criterion collection, perhaps overwhelmingly so. But I think there are a number that perhaps might be of interest to some or maybe most of you out there with respect to certain art house films or experimental films or documentary films or the like. And so what I thought I'd do today is I'd like to share with you one set from the Criterion collection that was released maybe a few years back, and it was a box set, and you can get it in a Blu-ray edition, which is what I have, and you can get this set, which is 3 films, and actually there's a short film as well that's included, so in fact you can count this set as having 4 films. It's a really fantastic set, and I strongly suggest you at least consider it if you are looking for experimental films, if you're looking for interesting documentary type films, if you're looking for interesting films that use very maybe experimental music scores and camera work and slow motion photography, time-lapse photography, computer generated photography and the like. I'm talking about this, which is the QATSI Trilogy. This is the name of the set, the QATSI Trilogy. This is spine number 639. The box set is spine number 639, the QATSI Trilogy. Now this is made up of 3 films, and the first film is spine number 640, which is right here. This is from 1983, and this is Koyaanisqatsi. Next is spine number 641. This is from 1988. This is Powaqqatsi. And the last film in the trilogy is from 2002. And this is spine number 642. This is Naqoyqatsi. And these are films that are by Godfrey Reggio. These films are quite fascinating, very enlightening. Each has its own unique tone. In other words, the films are somewhat distinct from one another in the fact that each has its own visual stylistic approach, and thus each has a certain focus of content that drives its visual style, or perhaps it's vice versa, who knows. But for example, if we look at the first film in the cycle, which is Koyaanisqatsi, there is a lot of focus on environments, landscapes, and how people seem to populate those landscapes and environments, and whether that causes sort of symbiotic relationships, or whether there is a contradiction in those in the combination of such, and the results are presented on screen in very dynamic visual motifs. A lot of sped up time-lapse photography, a lot of use of warping of time in terms of slow motion or fast motion, and how that seems to affect one's view of the environment, among other things that are being explored in this quite fascinating film. It seems like a documentary, but it's not quite a documentary. It seems like an experimental film, but it's not quite an experimental film. It seems like a musical montage video, but it's not quite that. It's perhaps everything, all of the above, and it's a very unique viewing experience. The film itself is driven by the great visuals that are presented by the director of photography, Ron Fricke, and also the driving, pulsating score by the one and only Philip Glass. This is one of his early film scores, and it's one of his most memorable. There are some themes in here that are just out of this world. So this is the first film in the QATSI trilogy, the so-called QATSI trilogy. This is Koyaanisqatsi. Again, this is Spine 640. This is from 1983. Then we have the film from 1988, which I mentioned, which is Powaqqatsi. Now, Powaqqatsi is perhaps similar to the earlier film Koyaanisqatsi in the sense that it does focus on the concept of humanity, the movement of the human populations, the interactions between certain pockets of the population around the world. The visual focus, though, is quite startling and strikingly different from the earlier film Koyaanisqatsi, in the sense that we are talking, or we are focusing now on a more meditative view of humanity and the movement of humanity. And I mean that in two different meanings. I mean that first in the physical motion, meaning physical movements of human beings, as we see in sort of slow motion, the way the people that are depicted here are shot in a very interesting, maybe poetic use of slow motion. But also the idea of human movement is also the sweep of humanity, the way in which we can see the development, if you will, human progress, or maybe the reverse, depending on your point of view, and also the way in which these developments cause effects in and around the population and the environment. So this is Powaqqatsi, again driven by a uniquely powerful and striking musical tone and character that's captured by Philip Glass. It's a deeply meditative is a word that's often used to describe this film, and I would agree with that word, but it's also quite it's quite hypnotic in the way its slow motion images in particular seem to capture one as one watches this film. It's a very deeply moving portrait. Again, much like the earlier film, it's not quite a documentary, it's not quite an experimental film, it's not quite a music video, but it seems to be everything, a little bit of each. And it's very, it's like a cinematic poem almost. So this is Powaqqatsi from 1988. And then we have the film from 2002, which is Spy number 642, as I said, Naqoyqatsi. Now, this is a film that is, again, strikingly different in its visual tone and approach from the previous two films. Now we are getting more of what might be seen as being a cold, artificial touch to the visual tones of the piece. In particular, and specifically, we are dealing with an almost artificially constructed view of the world, a world through a lens that is crafted via the computer and graphic imagery, computer graphic imagery and the like, and how that seems to augment or diminish, depending on one's point of view, one's view of the world. And it takes on, therefore, an almost hugely global significance. And when I say global significance, I mean in a broad spectrum a viewpoint of humanity that doesn't seem to be tied necessarily to one culture or another culture, but is a more perhaps seeking to make a universal point about humanity and where it finds itself at this stage of its history. This is Naqoyqatsi, and again, it's striking in terms of its differences from the earlier works, and yet it is still presenting a kind of hypnotic visual poetry, and the grammar that's presenting is consistent with this style of eclectic visual poetry that we saw in the earlier two films, Koyaanisqatsi and Powaqqatsi. But yet it still maintains its own path in the visual terms and also in its contents, which I tried to describe just a minute ago. So this is the third film in the so-called QATSI trilogy. When you get this set, if you decide to get the set, you are getting a bunch of supplements with this set, which is really lovely. You are also getting, among those supplements, a short film called Anima Mundi, which is also a kind of visual poetic work that is dealing with a certain type of subject matter, namely certain species of animal life on Earth, and presented in a very unique, visually stylistic way, and also driven by a musical score by Philip Glass, as is this film, by the way, Naqoyqatsi. And so what we have in this set is you are essentially getting 4 films by Godfrey Reggio, and you're getting supplements. So you're getting the QATSI trilogy, and you're getting Anima Mundi, and you're getting supplements. So you're really getting a real package when you, or if you were to consider getting this set. And as I say, it's quite a unique portrait of cinema and viewpoints on humanity and environment, and also human development, human progress, and the effects thereon, or the effects thereof, on the surrounding environments and the human population writ large. So there are many philosophical points that are trying to be made here. There are certain philosophical arguments, I think, that are being made implicitly underneath the visual images. And I think this also leaves a lot to interpretation, namely the interpretation of the viewer as one watches it. And I think one can watch these films and walk away from them and potentially have different viewpoints from, let's say, other people who might have seen the same films. So it creates a lovely room, I think, for healthy debate and also discussion among cinephiles and among people who have seen these films as to what they mean and what they are pointing towards. So this is the QATSI trilogy, and so I would strongly recommend, if you haven't gotten this already, to at the very least consider getting the QATSI trilogy. Again, this is a box set, and so I don't think these films are made available individually. So if you wanted to get these films through the Criterion collection, your best bet is to get the box set. And if you were looking to find something to get during the Criterion sale at Barnes & Noble, then this might be one place to go. Once again, the Barnes & Noble Criterion sale is really wonderful because you can get 50% off of certain, or I think most of the items of the Criterion collection. So if you're thinking about box sets, box sets have retail prices that are generally quite high. So a 50% off sale is really, in many respects, the ideal time to get box sets. So this is in many ways the ideal time to get a box set. So if you're interested in getting a really fascinating, packed box set release from Criterion that has a lot of great features, but also presents the films in a loving and definitive way, then I would strongly suggest, for your consideration, my dear friends, the QATSI trilogy. This is spine number 639, and the films are 640, 641, 642. Again, Koyaanisqatsi, Powaqqatsi, and Naqoyqatsi. Okay, my friends, so that's it for now. So until we meet again, please be happy and healthy and well, and please keep on watching a lot of great movies. And for those of you out there who are able to enjoy the Criterion sale at Barnes & Noble, please enjoy yourselves. I hope you are indeed enjoying yourselves, and please let me know what titles you end up getting. As always, I'm very interested to hear what it is you've gotten and what kinds of films that you are interested in. So with that, my friends, please be well, and until we meet again, cheers.